Hello there, Internet. Welcome to Saturday Nights with Seven. I am your host, as always, Seven. I'm currently driving on Evans Boulevard, or I don't even know if this is a boulevard. I'm driving on Evans, either way, heading around DU, trying to pick up a ride. Hopefully it'll work. It's been really freaking slow these last couple of weeks. I got sick, and then things happened, and the long story short, I've been super hard up for money. It's kind of a bummer when the rides that you're getting are usually not as big as you would like them to be, or you're not making as much money as you would like to be making for being a glorified taxi driver in Denver, Colorado. Lately I haven't been too good about keeping up with these. You notice there was kind of like a gap of a couple weeks where I didn't actually get one of these done. I got sick, and one of the weeks was insanely busy, and I've just been suffering from a general sense of apathy and apprehension towards actually even doing these. Part of the mistake that I was making is I was actually trying to edit them the Saturday of, or that Saturday, trying to do it a little bit more real time, so that way I could focus more editing power and energy on the other projects that I'm currently undertaking. But when it just straight came down to it, I just wasn't getting the job done, essentially because I was being lazy, for lack of a better term. So hopefully I will be a little bit better in the future about actually keeping up with these broadcasts. We'll actually see whether or not that actually happens, as I am always feeling a little bit lazy. So sometimes it's just a little mind-boggling to think that there's people that have college degrees and are living relatively successful lives and with successful careers, and they're able to afford to live in ridiculous high-rise apartments that are roughly in my age demographic, but seem to be way less in touch with the world around them. You meet sometimes some people that are just so wildly out of touch about what is the meaning of just existence. I don't know, maybe I'm thinking a little bit too heavy about it, but it seems like there's people that are just so completely far out of touch and so insulated in their own little world, where they're basically just making money and partying all the time without really much as a second thought as to whether or not they're actually trying to grow themselves, expand their minds, expand their universe, or just even necessarily being kind and considerate to people that are around them. And these people are essentially functioning as important key members of their society, or they're rewarded as such by being paid, as a functioning, or being paid the amount that you would indicate them being a functioning, well-respected, very important member of society. And yet I feel like their contribution overall is negligible, or actually detrimental to society as a whole in some cases. Just speaking in broad terms about some of the characters that I come across while giving rides, and almost always individuals that tend to boast about how much money they're making, or how good their careers are, or how nice of a person they are, or how powerful, rich, and famous they are, tend to tip the worst out of everybody that you ever pick up. Usually the people that are coming home from a shitty job, where they're getting off of a night stalking position at 3 in the morning and just want to go home and sleep, they're surprisingly the ones that usually tip the best and seem to be a little bit more kind-hearted and down to earth. Perhaps it's just a matter of perspective, depending on where you are in your life, and it being kind of in a position where money is more scarce and you don't have the resources and finances to basically go out and live kind of an extravagant lifestyle. That actually makes you a little bit more down to earth or centered, and maybe just spiritually, or just as far as soul health, in a better position than say people that have the money to go and live lives that are extravagant. See, the idea is starting to fall apart at the end here, but I had a good one rolling for a little while, right? One of my biggest pet peeves, I think, is probably when I hear stories of jackasses being go back to your own country, or go back from where you came, to foreigners especially, because it's I get that xenophobia is kind of a natural human condition, and that just some people can't deal with foreign people on any level. It's not just a uniquely American thing, of course. Anywhere you go, you'll find people that are less than welcoming towards people who are not from where they are, and it's hard to hear stories. For instance, I picked up a group of people tonight that said the bar that they were at, the bartender was being a jackass, and kind of towards the end where he was kicking everybody out, they kind of were well, it's 20 till, can we just finish our drinks? And the guy was kind of no, why don't you go back to your own country? And it's kind of like, that's just, I mean, first off, if you're in the service industry and that's the attitude that you're having towards customers, I mean, you're probably in the wrong industry, mate, because it's pretty bad for tips and repeat customers if you're saying shit like that to patrons. And secondary to that, it's just not a polite way to handle anything. Everybody in the world should be treated with equal respect, and no matter where you're from. The exception I make to that rule is people from California and Texas who's come to Colorado and then complain about it not being California or Texas. Look, and I think that actually goes for anybody who comes into where you're from and then complains about it not being where they're from. It's like, I understand, it's not California. It's never going to be California. And really, if you prefer California and you like California better, you probably should go back to California and not be here and then complain. Like, if I went to, say, just for sake of argument, England, if I went to England, and then I was sitting there in England and, I was like, man, England sucks because it's not Colorado, they probably would have the right to be kind of pissed off at me because, real frankly, that's just rude on my part. Also, the phone moved. I'm sorry. That shines a little bit of weird light onto what it is exactly that I do here. You're basically watching basically a phone recording, because I have a little phone mount in the car. Turns out the forward-facing camera actually isn't half bad on the phone, so I record using my phone. It's not like I have a GoPro or anything. I wish I did. I don't have one, actually. But anyway, back to the original conversation. I don't know. I think if somebody is in your country, or somebody is from a different part of the world, or just even a different part of the state sometimes, and they're kind of like, they're basically visiting where you're at or spending time where you're at, and they're treating you with respect and, not complaining about, like, your current locale, I think it's totally inappropriate to demand that somebody go back where they came from. That just seems hurtful and needlessly xenophobic in the modern day culture where anybody can be from anywhere and it should be all right. So I have to say, like, I think one thing that I kind of want to do, or I'd kind of like to do, is I'd like to work in a skyscraper someday. Like, skyscrapers are really freaking cool. Like, just being that high up, and, I imagine, because I've heard really crazy things, like, in a really high wind situation, you can actually feel the entire floor moving, which has to be totally unnerving. But it just seems to be, like, these awesome, like, big, tall, concrete and steel man-made structures that we've made that just sit so far above the ground and, tower over our civilizations as, pinnacles to our engineering prowess and ability. And I want to work in one, but I don't think I'm ever going to be able to have a job where I would be able to work in one, because really, like, a lot of the jobs that are found in skyscrapers are like administrative work, or like, accounting and just like banking and high finance and all kinds of jazz like that. And really, like, the only thing that I can think of that maybe might involve me being able to be in a skyscraper someday is like maybe being a video game developer, if there's another like boom like there was like when I think, if I remember correctly, Ion Storm, which I think was formed by, what's his name, something Romero. I might be wrong about this. See, I'm bad with history. Anyway, Ion Storm, I know for a while one of their offices was located in a like skyscraper in Dallas or something ridiculous like that. And for their for a video game company to be like, located in a skyscraper is totally unnecessary, and probably added to costs that were like extravagant already. So I mean, that's the closest I'll ever get, because it's not like any of the it's not like the little shitty YouTube company that I have right now is ever going to need a skyscraper. And even if like at some point we were financially successful enough to warrant a skyscraper, I think I'd rather just have my own standalone building that like I could just own and like, modify to my heart's content, because it's not like exactly you can do a lot in a skyscraper to change things. But if you have your own standalone building, you definitely can do some crazy stuff. And really, standalone buildings, I think, are, probably about on par with the cost to rent out, like, a floor of a skyscraper. Weird dreams, if I hit the lottery, maybe I just, like, go spend a week in an office in a skyscraper, not really doing anything, but just pretending like I actually have a job up there, which I'm neglecting, and probably just, like, browsing Reddit. Whoa, holy shit. I thought I was going to end this here pretty quick, but Something pretty big has actually happened in the road just in front of me. You're going to be able to see it right as I'm coming past. Wow. Oh boy. Okay. Whoa. That is a jackknife semi that I just passed here. I think somebody else is already out. The guy's out of his truck. He's fine. It looks like, wow, this, just continuing on from my weather discussion. So I just coming back from Denver. Denver is 100% dry. And as you know, I live in Colorado Springs. But I'm coming across Monument Hill, which, you can look up online. And the weather, the roads went from being dry to damp to snow, to pack snow. And let me actually see here really quick. Whoa, yeah, that's pretty slick. Even with four-wheel drive, I have brand new snow tires on this car, by the way. As you can see, it's actually daylight now. I've actually hit daylight where I'm at, and it's actually kind of insane just how quickly the weather changes out here. It's ridiculously slick. And yes, that semi that came over the hill, I don't know how well you could see that, but he was facing backwards. Semis aren't supposed to face backwards on the highway. So he was outside of his truck, and it didn't look like it hadn't flipped or anything. He jackknifed and spun, which is pretty traumatic, I imagine. And I hope he's all right. He was outside of his truck, and he looked like he was fine. He was wearing a safety vest, so there's probably not too much cause for me to really hop out and go bug him. But if I see any other cars out here that don't have anybody outside of them, I'll probably have to stop. But yeah, this moreover proves just how crazy Colorado weather can be. And these late nights in Colorado, when you combine the late nights with winter, suddenly it gets a little bit more intense out here. Gets a little crazy. But definitely, anyway, this has been Saturday Nights with Seven. My name, as always, is Seven, and I hope you enjoyed this relatively normal ride in Denver, and then subsequently getting to see a little glimpse of a semi-truck that jackknifed. Anyway, stay safe out there. As if you like this, share, subscribe, like, favorite, all that good jazz. And I will see you next week.